Hello folks, meet me again, Mr. Scary Exist. In this video, I'd like to tell you the true story. Don't you know that I can see them, but they can't see me? Only 1 out of 1,000 people had the experience to get in touch with me. Here is the story.
My wife Emily and I, in our quest for unique home decor, found ourselves in a dusty antique shop. Among the piles of forgotten treasures, a particular piece caught our eye. It was an antique mirror, its ornate frame etched with intricate designs that hinted at an era long gone. The mirror's vintage allure was undeniable. Its reflective surface, though smudged with the patina of time, held a captivating charm. It was as if the mirror was whispering stories of its past, enticing us to become a part of its narrative. We were drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. After a brief haggle with the shopkeeper, we decided to purchase it. The mirror, we thought, would add an elegant touch to our living room, a testament to our taste for the unique and the extraordinary. Unbeknownst to us, we were bringing home more than just an antique mirror. A few nights after the mirror's arrival, I woke to the sound of whispers. These hushed voices, barely audible but chillingly clear, danced around the room, their source elusive. Emily, my wife, was fast asleep, oblivious to the eerie symphony that had stirred me from slumber. Bathed in an uncanny moonlight, the room seemed to have taken on a life of its own, with the antique mirror as its pulsating heart. Shadows waltzed in its reflection, their grotesque forms a macabre ballet in the dead of night. As days turned into weeks, the whispers evolved into spectral apparitions, hauntingly beautiful, yet terrifying. These ghostly figures stared back at us from the mirror's depths, their hollow eyes a silent plea for salvation. The tranquility of our home was replaced by a chilling undercurrent. Objects moved of their own volition. Doors creaked open unbidden. Emily, who once dismissed my fears, was now facing the inexplicable. In our quest for answers, we delved into the mirror's history. We unearthed a tale as chilling as the whispers that filled our nights. The mirror once belonged to a family whose story was steeped in tragedy. A father mysteriously vanished, a mother lost to grief, and children left parentless. The mirror was a silent observer, a keeper of their torment. As we uncovered these grim details, the supernatural activities in our home escalated. Footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and the mirror reflected faces twisted in anguish. The air grew heavy with sorrow, a palpable dread that seeped into every corner of our home. Emily, once a skeptic, could no longer deny the eerie happenings. The mirror's spectral inhabitants had made their presence known. Objects moved of their own accord, doors creaked open unbidden, and a chilling sense of dread draped over our once joyous home. The mirror's essence had not just entered our home, but had become a part of it. Out of desperation, we sought the help of paranormal experts. These were people who had delved into the shadowy realms of the unknown, who had danced with spirits and dared to cross the thresholds of reality. They performed seances, rituals steeped in mystery and ancient lore, hoping to communicate with the spirits trapped within the mirror. The room seemed to throb with energy, an electric charge that prickled our skin and sent shivers down our spines. The air hung heavy, dense with anticipation, and a sense of impending revelation. The mirror, that cursed antique, seemed to warp and distort under the weight of this spectral energy. It was like peering into a whirlpool, the faces of those brave enough to look reflected back in a dizzying array of twisted expressions. But despite their efforts, the spirits remained elusive. Their whispers, once mere murmurs, rose in intensity, becoming an urgent chorus of despair. Yet the spirits remained elusive, their whispers only growing more urgent. In a final attempt to break the curse, we invited a seasoned medium into our home. The moment she crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted, a tangible change like the calm before a storm. Her gaze was immediately drawn to the mirror, her eyes widening with recognition, fear, and something akin to respect. She revealed the mirror's true nature, her voice a hushed whisper as if afraid to disturb the spirits trapped within. It was a conduit for the afterlife, a bridge between our world and the realm of the departed. The mirror was not just a reflector of light and image, but a vessel for the souls lost in time and space, yearning for release. Their anguish, their despair was not a curse but a cry for help, echoing through the ages. We were not their victims, but their potential saviors. The mirror, we realized, was not just a reflection of our world, but a window into the realm of the departed.
Hello folks, meet me again, Mr. Scary Exist. In this video, I'd like to tell you the true story. Don't you know that I can see them, but they can't see me? Only 1 out of 1,000 people had the experience to get in touch with me. Here is the story.
Welcome, I'm Sarah, your ordinary librarian with a not-so-ordinary tale. Imagine a life as plain as an unwritten page of a book. That was me, living in a world filled with the musky scent of old books and the soft whispers of seekers of knowledge. I found joy in the simplicity of my job and solace in the heartwarming routine of my family life. My husband, James, the cornerstone of our small but cozy family, and our 2 lovely children, Emily and Alex, who filled our home with laughter and playful banter. Our life was as calm as a still lake, a serene portrait of normality. Yet, as we all know, even the calmest waters can hide unfathomable depths. Our tranquil existence took a strange turn when we began receiving chilling phone calls at midnight. It started like any other call, the shrill ring slicing the silence of the night. At the stroke of midnight, our phone would ring, a stark, chilling reminder of the unknown. I'd pick up, my heart pounding, only to be met with a haunting whisper on the other end. The voice was low, mournful, and it spoke in riddles and fragments, revealing pieces of a puzzle that I was yet to understand. At first, these midnight calls seemed like a twisted prank. I would hear names, dates, and cryptic messages that seemed to hark back to another time. I tried to dismiss them, to convince myself that it was just a game, someone's idea of a cruel joke. But the calls continued, and with each ring, the voice became more ominous, the messages more unsettling. But what truly set these calls apart was the eerie connection they seemed to have with our home. The voice spoke of events, of a tragedy that occurred within these very walls, long before we moved in. It was as if the past was reaching out, demanding to be acknowledged, refusing to remain buried. I confided in James, my husband. I shared the details of these disturbing calls, the names that were mentioned, the dates, the strange messages. At first, he too dismissed it as a prank, but as the voice began to reveal more about the history of our house, he too felt a sense of unease. We decided to delve into the history of our home, to uncover the truth behind these midnight calls. We sifted through old records, through faded newspaper clippings, and what we found sent shivers down our spines. The voice was not just a prank. It was a cry for help, a plea from the past, a story of a family that once lived here, a family that met a tragic end within these very walls. But as the voice persisted, a sense of impending doom washed over me. With a heavy heart, we decided to delve into the past of our own home. Our research took us through dusty archives and faded newspapers, a journey through time that was as chilling as it was enlightening. We unearthed a tragic story, a narrative of a family that had once filled these rooms with laughter and love, much like our own. Yet their story ended not with a happily ever after, but with a series of inexplicable and untimely deaths. The parents, like us, ordinary and unsuspecting, and their 2 children, innocent and full of life, all met a fate so devastating within these very walls. The more we discovered, the more the midnight whispers began to make sense. They were not just random words, but fragments of a story long buried and forgotten. A tale of despair and betrayal had unfolded within these very walls. We reached out to a local historian, a woman well-versed in the paranormal. She conducted a seance, her voice a soft chant in the heavy silence of our living room. As she spoke, the air seemed to hum with an unseen energy, a spectral presence that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Through her, the spirit spoke. The voice, once haunting and cryptic, now sounded desperate, pleading. It spoke of forgiveness, of release. It asked, no, implored us to acknowledge the tragedy that had unfolded within these walls, the pain that had stained them for decades. So we did. We acknowledged their pain, their suffering. We offered them understanding, a balm for their eternal wounds. We spoke directly to them, our words a beacon of light reaching out into the spectral darkness. In acknowledging their pain, we could finally bring them the peace they so desperately sought. The midnight calls stopped, leaving us with a home filled with warmth and a story that will echo through the ages.
Hello folks, meet me again, Mr. Scary Exist. In this video, I'd like to tell you the true story. Don't you know that I can see them, but they can't see me? Only 1 out of 1,000 people had the experience to get in touch with me. Here is the story.
Have you ever felt an eerie presence while driving on a desolate road at night? Allow me to introduce myself. I'm John, a hard-working man with a simple life. As a construction foreman, I've always been the kind of person who's more comfortable with concrete and steel than the supernatural. My family? Just me and my wife Sarah. We've been each other's rock for the past 15 years. One late evening, Sarah and I found ourselves driving on a deserted road. The kind of road that's so barren it feels like it's been forgotten by time itself. The only light was the faint glow of the moon, and the occasional flash of our car's headlights slicing through the darkness. The silence was so thick, it almost felt tangible, like I could reach out and grab it. The road stretched on endlessly like a black ribbon cutting through the void. The trees on either side of the road stood tall and silent, their shadows dancing with each passing moment. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and something else. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. It was a scent that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. As we drove, the feeling of unease grew. The road seemed to grow darker, the silence louder. There was a sense of anticipation, like the night was holding its breath. And then, against my wife's advice, I decided to pick up a hitchhiker. The man was a stranger. His eyes held a cryptic gleam. His presence in the car was like a cold wind on a summer day, unexpected and unsettling. As we drove, he spoke in riddles. His words danced around the edges of meaning, and his laugh, oh, it was a hollow echo that bounced off the car's walls. The man was peculiar. His energy filled the car with an eerie stillness. His conversations were an odd mix of tales and warnings, a cocktail of terror and intrigue. I found myself drawn into his web of words, following his instructions as if entranced. The road ahead twisted and turned, mirroring our strange journey. At each fork his voice guided us, his cryptic words steering our path. We ventured deeper into the unknown, the world outside our windows shifting with each mile. His instructions led us deeper into the unknown. The further we drove, the more peculiar everything became. The air was thick with a sense of dread that clung to me like a second skin. The hitchhiker's instructions led us down a labyrinth of deserted roads, each turn more desolate than the last. His voice, once a comforting presence, now echoed in the car like a chilling whisper. Each direction he gave felt like a step further into the abyss of the unknown. A feeling of unease settled over me, a sensation that was almost tangible, like the cold touch of phantom fingers tracing down my spine. The silence of our surrounding was broken by strange noises, sounds that didn't belong in the stillness of the night. A distant howl, a rustling of leaves when there was no wind, a faint whimpering that seemed to come from nowhere. Each sound was a symphony of fear that played on my frayed nerves, amplifying the terror that gripped my heart. The air grew colder, a chill that seeped into my bones and made my breath fog up the windshield. I could feel the hitchhiker's gaze on me, a weight that was more terrifying than the isolation of our surroundings. As we ventured deeper into the desolate landscape, an overwhelming sense of fear gripped me. The realization dawned on me that I was lost in the middle of nowhere, with a stranger whose presence was becoming increasingly terrifying. The terror had gripped me so tightly I could barely speak. My voice trembled as I turned to my wife, clutching her hand in mine. I stammered out the story, each word a testament to the horror we'd just experienced. The cryptic conversations, the unsettling behavior, the terrifying revelation of the hitchhiker's true identity. It all poured out of me in a rush, like a river breaking through a dam. I could still feel the chill of the hitchhiker's eerie presence, the tangible fear hanging in the air. The stench of dread was still fresh, lingering in the confines of our car. My heart pounded, waiting for her response. I expected shock, fear, disbelief, but what came was something entirely different, something that sent a fresh wave of chills down my spine. With a confused look on her face, she shrugged off my hand and answered in a calm, steady voice. "What are you talking about? I've been sleeping the entire time."